The wizards were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. That's the premise of today's videos, looking at the hybrid creatures of Mystara as I work my way through the 4 monster manuals at a frightening pace. Making this without duplicating any of them is getting harder every time I do it. This time the monsters are half this and half that, mostly animal types, though I made a few exceptions for creatures that are hard to describe in any category. Enough lead up. I'm Mr. Welch, we're looking at the hybrids of Mystara, and let's start playing God. To qualify for a hybrid, you must be made from the parts of at least 2 other creatures. Simple enough. I'm trying to avoid those I've done before, and those that are half man and half something else. The Decapus might be half octopus and half Hollywood studio executive, but it's not going on this list. Most of these come from the Red Steel setting because somebody there loved his flip-over funnies toys when he was a kid. I tried to avoid monsters I've done in other videos, like the Dragon and most normal hybrid monsters, unless the Mystara version has a story or an interesting twist like the Cockatrice. Enough explanation, it's time for monsters. The Batracine starts off this list coming from the Savage Coast and is half frog, half bulldog. This is going to be the art for most of these because almost none of the Red Steel monsters appeared outside the book for obvious reasons, so there's just a single piece of art for each one. This little abomination is a common sight in Renardi and is a favorite pet for many of the Lupins there. Batracines have a nasty bite, though no more dangerous than an average dog. They possess the leap legacy but do not require Cinebril and never become afflicted. Their tongues are elongated like a frog, and they have to stay moist to avoid taking damage, though they can be out of water for a lot longer than a regular frog. Batracine blood can be used as an ingredient in potions that counter sleep magic, and wild ones are hunted for their blood. They live alone normally, unless they've taken a mate for a season, but they will band together to hunt larger preys. They rarely take on creatures their size or larger, preferring to eat fish, birds, and small mammals, but never amphibians. Captured ones can be trained to do tricks, though their skateboarding skill is never mentioned. You can sell the young for a few gold pieces. A trained Batracine costs 20 on the open market if you want a unique pet. A Canaqueen is what you get when you cross a horse with a dog, and of course it's in the Savage Coast. As you can see, the front half is the dog and the back half is the horse. The dog part will always be of a larger canine. There are no Chihuahua Canaqueens. They're intelligent, can be taught multiple tricks, and even communicate with their barks, but just simple responses. In the wild, they're found in herds, attacking prey animals as a pack. They only attack game animals. Attacking humans or demi-humans is unheard of. Despite what you would think, Lupins do not like Canaquins, viewing them as abominations, but not to the point of trying to exterminate them. Just don't expect a warm welcome in Renardi if you ride up on one. These creatures are easily domesticated. They love the attention they get from their master. They are playful and want to be ridden once tamed. Canaquins are easily spoiled when regularly groomed and will defend their master to the death if threatened. They are so adapted to be taken as mounts that few wild herds are rarely found far from towns, making it relatively easy to capture a young Canaquin. All you need is a horse brush and a squeaky toy and they're yours. Unlike many monsters on this list, they are not immune to the red curse, but are resistant to it, only 10% falling victim. If the legacy is useful, the Canaquin will be cared for with Cinebril. Otherwise, it will be released into the wild or euthanized out of mercy. Wild Canaquins that become afflicted are left to their own fate. Everybody here is familiar with the Cockatrice. It's half lizard, half rooster, and it turns you to stone if it touches you. It's a classic D&D monster from day one, stolen shamelessly from Greek mythology. But Mystara has to give it a twist. Much like the Medusa, it is originally a creature from the elemental plane of Earth, where it resembles a small bird of soft dirt. It didn't say what kind of bird it resembles. I would just go with chicken or pigeon or some similar common avian. This form is much less resilient, with just a few hit points instead of the 5 hit dice in its prime form. But it can still petrify you if you let it touch you. Since most creatures in their home plane are already made of earth or stone, it's not a problem. Still, don't ask to pet the Dow's parrot. If there's a dog horse, then we must have a cat horse. Introducing the Feliquine, the front half of a lion and the back half of a horse. It's like the guy who made the griffin couldn't find an eagle and had to make do with what was left. Most are colored like lions, but if you have a horse's coloration instead, solid black ones are rare and highly sought after. They are famous for their strong wills, and while they can understand commands, they're under no obligation to follow them. Because cats. They aren't genuinely domesticated, but they can be befriended by rangers, beastmasters, or similar. Even then, the Feliquine has to like you first. In the wild, the creatures gather in a pride. Like lions, unlike lions, male Feliquines will take part in their hunts. The females chase the prey, typically horses, into an ambush set by the male, and then the entire pride feasts on their kills. Some of them will bond with a beast rider or a ranger, but only if the person approaching them is a Rakasta, or in rare cases an elf. Others trying it will be at best ignored, or at worst eaten. Though Feliquine attacks on humans and similar are rare, there's never been a recorded incident of Feliquines attacking a Rakasta. The bonded creature is more of a partner than a mount, and they will defend their master to the death. Once a year, the beast will leave their master to mate and return afterwards. Young feliquines born to a bonded one are released to join a pride when they mature enough. The creatures can gain legacies rarely, but they never become afflicted. The Grudging is half man, half cat, and all nightmare. I know I said I wasn't doing half-man hybrids, but that was mostly for creatures like centaurs or wimics. Grudglings are cats with the head of a human. Since that's 7 shades of messed up, we're going with it. The creatures resulted from a Rakasta wizard deciding he needed a familiar that fit his style. He was hoping for a talking cat like out of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. What he got was a freak of nature. Grudglings, despite their name, don't hold grudges. They aren't smart enough. They are only found as pets. Being magical creatures, they don't appear in the wild. If you let one go, he wouldn't know how to survive apart from his pampered lifestyle. They have the same attack stats as a house cat, are of limited intelligence, and the one redeeming feature that makes them popular as a pet is they keep trying to walk upright. They can get afflictions, and about half of them do, and they need Cinebril. If they get a legacy that isn't beneficial, they're often thrown out on the streets to fend for themselves. These guys are just screwed from the start. Hippogriffs are another stock D&D monster, one with a Mystaran twist. It's a half griffin and half horse, compared to the griffin, which is half eagle and half lion. So it's 1/3 eagle, 1/3 lion, and 1/3 horse. Despite being a hybrid, the griffin was not a result of some magical experimentation. They're creatures that naturally evolved in Mystara, making it possibly the only creature here you can't blame on a wizard. The hippogriff, however, was explicitly created by a wizard by merging a griffin and a horse. I would blame the Nithians, but that creature isn't messed up in the head enough to be one of theirs. While their creation might have been a very long time ago, Blackmore wasn't into biological sciences that much. So go with Alphatian or Glantry or maybe Thonian and just call it a day. The Sirigars are the result of what if the wizard wanted to make a griffin but ran out of eagle parts and had to improvise. It's a lion with eagle wings, found only in the 5 Shires, where it hunts hen, pegasi, and ironically enough, griffins. They are suspected of being a Glantrian creation designed to make halfling lives miserable, because Glantrians. Aside from the flying part, they aren't much tougher than regular lions, with attacks doing minor damage, but they do have a lot of attacks. There are stories of valiant knights riding Sirigars, but these seem to be fairy tales, as no examples have ever been found. The dwarves used to hunt them from sport during their occupation of the Shires, and the Sirigar developed a taste for dwarf at the same time by sheer coincidence. They are said to taste like smoked beef, if you're curious. The Sirigars, not the dwarves. The Sirtaki was the only Mystaran hybrid monster I could find from the creature catalogs, which was odd considering the large number of weird creatures we call our own. It's a mad wizard's creation with the body of a bull, a snake's head, turtle's feet, and horse's tail, and the entire body is covered in bright green hair, with porcupine quills. It's a random mix of dangerous creatures with a violent disposition to boot. It likes to hurt things, and despite its animal intelligence, it's firmly in the chaotic evil alignment category. This thing is a terror. It's only got 6 hit dice, but it has a save or die attack, and it's not even an attack, but a passive ability. And it's not drop dead on the spot, but it gives you a disease that does 1 point of damage every round and prevents all forms of healing, natural and magical. A cure disease spell stops it, but you better have one ready. Worse, the damage is from their porcupine-like quills hidden in their fur, and you have to make a test every time you strike one in melee. They're often found in small numbers, so you have to deal with up to 3 of them. There have been attempts to domesticate this thing for guard duty, but those efforts have always ended in tragedy, as they just want to hunt and kill. What do you get when you cross a wolverine with a bat? Aside from a visit from your magical college's ethical committee, you get the Timinid. It's like what I described, a short Canadian man with a healing factor, claws, bat wings, and the ability to appear on every comic book cover to boost sales, despite not actually appearing in any of those books. Or the largest member of the weasel family, whichever doesn't draw the ire of Disney lawyers. These creatures are found in the mountains of the arms of the immortals, which creates a continuity problem, again, with a Red Steel product. As written, they have a problem with legacies, despite these mountains being well outside the range of the curse. So ignore that part. Timinids are known for their cleverness. They hold grudges and are adept enough to spot and avoid traps. They've even destroyed traps that have been laid for them and hunted down the owners later. They're antisocial, only gathering to breed and immediately leaving after the mating. Mothers will kick out their kids as soon as they're weaned, or even sooner if they're annoying. They have an excellent sense of smell, letting them hunt invisible creatures, though with limited results. Their favorite tactic is to hunt other flying creatures by dropping on them from above. They can also shoot musk in the face of the prey, so even if they flee, they can easily be tracked by scent later. Vulture Hounds have a large dog's body and a vulture's head and wings. They're found in the mountains of Bernardi, and while they can acquire legacies, they never get afflicted. They are scavengers for most of their food, though Vulture Hounds will attack weak or sick animals, if the Vulture Hounds think they can win. Combat-wise, they aren't much of a threat. They will follow adventurers outdoors, hoping to get an easy meal after a battle with defeated monsters. What they do have is immunity to the disease vermilia, which is usually fatal. When used as part of a medicine, their blood can immediately cure the disease. This makes them tolerated in many areas despite their diet and smell. Those are a selection of hybrid creatures from Mystara, which was a bit hard to write due to the limited number of monsters and the fact that many of them could fit in multiple categories. Still, these were the obvious choices. And now that that's done, I need another video. One that people have been asking for a while, at least some people. The Induk, the winged minotaurs of the arms of the immortals. Until then, remember, people of the world, splice up your life.